thought I'd share with you what has become one of my favorite verses in the Old Testament. Exodus chapter 3, verses 7 and 8. Now, we're familiar with the first part of that chapter, and that's where Moses meets God in the burning bush. Very dramatic there. But how many of us remember what God said to Moses there at the burning bush? Tell you, it's really encouraging, and it's actually become the model of my prayer life, especially when I'm upset. It can be, if I'm angry or sad or just feeling some kind of emotion and I don't know what's going on there. I'll use this as an outline for my prayer life. Let me just share these 5 beautiful thoughts from this passage here. It starts out and it says, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. Did you know that one of the names for God in the Old Testament is El Roi? It means the God who sees. Isn't that encouraging? God sees you. Psychiatrist Kirk Thompson says that every child comes into the world looking for someone, looking for them. And you and I, even as adults, we do this too. We come into a room and there are other people there and we wonder, is anybody going to see us? God sees us, even in the midst of our difficulty. It goes on, it says, I've heard them crying out because of their slave drivers. So God sees and He hears, right? God hears the cry of our hearts. And our mouths too, if we happen to cry out loud. Isn't that good to know that God hears those things? We have somebody with a listening ear for us to encourage us. Sometimes if I don't know what's going on in my heart, I'll just cry out to God and say, what's going on here? And then I'll stop to listen. And oftentimes God speaks. He clarifies what's bothering me. Isn't that encouraging to know that God hears us? He goes on and he says, I am concerned about their suffering. God sees and hears and He understands. He understands what's going on in our heart. He cares for us. He's concerned about us. And I'll just pause and say, thank you, God, that you care about this. I mean, if He cares about the tiny little sparrow that falls to the ground, doesn't He care about all of our problems? All of your problems and mine? Be encouraged that God cares about you, both your joys and your sorrows.